Unit 3, Part 8. Okay, we just did this one. I just said the falsity of one conjunct suffices for the falsity of the conjunction as a whole. All right, let's move on to 2F. All right, you see the whole thing? Yep. So, what's the major operator of this, right? That's the same as asking under which symbol, under which symbol is the truth value going to be the actual answer to the question, right? Well, under the operator that is the major operator, when that gets its truth value, T or F, that's the answer to the question, right? You can't just see a string of symbols. You need to see form. You need to see structure, right? You need to see how this is constructed. What is this? What is this thing? It is a conditional, and that is the major operator. This one here. There are other conditionals, right? So this is a conditional where the antecedent is a disjunction and the consequent is itself a conditional with the antecedent as a disjunction and the consequent as a negated disjunction. Right? Do practice saying that. Right? That's how you learn to see and think and understand and see the forms of these formulas. You're going to learn to see not just a string of symbols, but structure, order, form. Okay, so let's see. Okay, look at this. X and Y, okay, this is a disjunction, but X and Y are both false. So false, false, that means this disjunct is false. Do you know what to do next? Pause and tell me what I should do next. Right? Welcome back. You should realize that you do not need at this stage to answer the question, right? Know what the question is. The question is, what goes here, T or F? Under here, right? The question is, let me put the emphasis in the right place. The question is, what goes here, right? A T or F here, because that's the question, because that's the form, that's the major operator, right? And you should know that conditionals are such that if the conditional has a false antecedent, those conditionals are true. Conditionals with false antecedents are always true, right? That's a false antecedent, so this is true. I don't need to bother with this monstrosity that is the conditional's consequent, right? The falsity of this disjunction suffices for the truth of that, because conditionals with false disjuncts, with false antecedents are always true. Conditionals with false antecedents are true, just as conditionals with true consequents are true. Don't get them mixed up. Don't say conditionals with don't say conditionals with true antecedents are always true, because they're not. T hook F is false. Okay, if I wanted to calculate this, let's do it. X, that's false. Wedge, false. False or false. My table, that's false. That means this is a tilde. Means that's true. That's true means this is true, right? The truth of this consequence suffices for this being true. Can I determine that G is unknown, but can I determine the truth of the wedge? Yes, I can, because A is true, and that truth suffices for the truth of this. Notice that if this was something false, if that was false, I wouldn't know the truth of the wedge. Imagine this was a X, right? If it was G or X, right? Then it would be question mark, hook, false, right? Question mark, hook, false. Well, if G is true, that would make the wedge true, but if G was false, it would make the wedge false. So I would have to say at that stage that if that was X instead of A, I would have to say that the truth value of that subformula is unknown. Okay? But as it is, A is true, that suffices for the truth of the wedge. But so anyway, it's true, hook, true. True anyway makes that true, so that's true. So we have F hook true, which is true. So notice this, just on F, right? This is a good example of learning to see the forms in big, complex, ugly instances, all right? Because you need to see this as a conditional, that is, as a P hook Q, right? Because the final question you answer in computing this truth value, right? The major overall question you have to answer is, what is the truth value of this P hook Q? And you need to be able to see that the P is X or Y, and the Q is if G or A, then not either X or Z, right? So So this whole thing is the Q, right? This is all the Q of the overall form, which is P or Q. But you need to be able to see that the overall form is P or Q because the truth table you're thinking in answering the question is the truth table for P hook Q, right? You need to be able to see that it's, right? This is a conditional, so the semantics, that is the truth table for the conditional are in play, right? It's a conditional overall. Oh, okay, so that means as long as it's not T hook F, it's true. What is it? Oh, it's F hook T, that's one of the true ones, okay? All right, 3. 3a, what's the overall form? It is a disjunction. It's a disjunction of conjunctions, okay? So what have we got? We got A is true, G is question mark, B is true, H is question mark, truth value unknown. Okay, can I determine the truth value of this? No, I cannot, right? Because think about it. If G is true, the conjunction is true. If G is false, the conjunction is false. So this could be true, given all the information I'm given, this could be true or false. So I don't know whether that's true or false. It could be false, could be true. What about this? Again, same situation. T dot question mark. If H is true, the conjunction is true. If H is false, so that remains a question mark, and this remains a question mark. So therefore I can't determine the wedge, right? The wedge could be true or false, right? If one of them turns out to be true, it's true. If one or both of them turn out to be true, it's true. But if they're both false, and they could both be false for all I know, right? If G and H are both false, and that's false, and that's false, and the wedge is false. So what's the answer? I cannot determine the truth value of this. You might think you get the same answer for the next one. H hook G hook H. Surely, you may erroneously think, surely I cannot determine the truth value of this because every single atom involved, every simple sentence involved, every atom from which I build up the formula is unknown, right? H and G are unknown. But there is some more information here, which does in fact allow you to determine the truth value of this formula, namely that H appears here and here. Now, we have ambivalent logic, which means every formula is either true or false. So let's take it case by case. H is either true or false. If H is true, what happens? And let's work that out. And then let's work out what happens if H is false. Okay? Now, if H is true, then the antecedent of the conditional is true. Can I say if the conditional is true or false? Not yet, right? But if H is true, then H is also true over here. It's a true consequent for this conditional, making this conditional true, which means the consequent of the antecedent consequent means that would make the consequent of the overall conditional true, and that suffices for the truth of the thing. So if H is true, this becomes, no matter what G is, if H is true, this becomes true hook true, which is true. Right? What if H is false? Well, if H is false, it's false hook, something else. But false antecedent suffices for the truth of the conditional. So if H is false, right, we can't determine this yet. If G is false and this is true, if G is true, it will be T hook F, which will be false. But that doesn't matter. If H is false, the falsity of the overall antecedent suffices for the truth of the formula. So, if H is true, the whole thing is true. If H is false, the whole thing is true. So we can say that the whole thing is true. All right, that'll do for Unit 3.